had a conversation with Opio actually on the Of the Trees tour, just talking about like what is it all about if it's not about those moments in between, you know?
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? And having that, getting up and going to get coffee with the homies and, you know, decompressing and inspiring each other and kind of having those interconnected moments between the grind, I think is really important. And recognizing that, like, enjoy the ride. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but those are just perfect.
Yeah, how's it going today?
Good. I literally just unpacked. I'm just finished like 3 different tours. I did my mountain tour that I usually do in Colorado at the beginning of this year. And then I went on Of the Trees tour for a little bit. And then
Beautiful.
almost a month on Daily Bread tour. And then I've been popping in and out of LSZ dates. And I moved from Denver to Los Angeles in the middle of all of that.
Oh, dang.
Wow.
So it's kind of been like the craziest start to a year I've ever had in my life. And then I just got home a couple of days ago, I think on Sunday, and unpacked, finally decorated my studio, like put things on the walls and like got myself settled so I can start making and finishing music again. So that
Getting
feels good.
the vibe set.
Yeah, I had to like clear the clutter, set the vibe. I got the lighting dialed.
Nice.
So we're ready to go.
That's
Beautiful.
a big part to a vibe is
Yeah.
the lighting.
Yeah.
So why did you move from Denver to LA?
I've been in Denver for 16 years. I grew up in St. Louis and I moved there for college in 2008. And that's kind of how I got my start in the music scene, was living in Boulder and kind of being exposed to the whole scene that was happening there. But I've been there for so long that I just felt like the need to shake some things up.
Nice.
I just felt a little bit stagnant, like I was still, you know, doing the same things, and I wanted to experience new stuff and kind of just challenge myself and be in a new environment too. So, yeah, I'm excited. Denver will always be home. 2 of my friends are living in my house, and
Nice.
yeah, I definitely credit Colorado for you know, my entire career. So I'll be back often, but yeah, new
Nice.
chapter starts now.
What
So
part?
exciting.
What part of LA do you live?
I'm in Woodland Hills,
Oh, cool.
so the valley, yeah,
Nice.
which is nice
From
for me because I travel so much that I need to come home to like serene. You know, I can walk to Topanga State Park and go on a hike and
beautiful.
still have like nature nearby.
That's awesome, especially if you get to like cities where it's just straight city, like New York or something like that.
Yeah, no, I realized at this point I'm not a city girl anymore. I do that while I'm on tour and I want to come home and zen out.
Yeah, I'm going through the same realization right now for myself,
Yeah.
I think.
Where are you guys at, actually?
We're in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Nice.
We're at Slam Academy.
Sweet.
Right now the podcast is through them.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a Denver location too or no?
We used to have one, but it unfortunately closed because of COVID.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Bill taught there, and then Megan did the music business one here for a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, I remember that. Nice.
Yeah. That's actually how I got introduced to you, was through the I think you guys did like a 1 hour free music business like crash course.
Yeah. Was that during the pandemic?
2020? Yeah, it might have been like 2020, 2021.
I do remember that. That was
Yeah,
fun.
that was really awesome. Do you do anything else like that as far as like educational?
Not currently. I was teaching, you know, one-on-one Ableton lessons over the pandemic, which was really fun. I enjoy teaching a lot. And one of the coolest things I did, I think it was right before the pandemic happened is I went to Costa Rica and I did like a women in music retreat. So
Ooh.
I headed the Ableton portion, and then there was like, singing and, DJ lessons, and there was all kind, yoga. There was all kinds of classes there, and I think it was like 60 women in the middle of the jungle.
Oh, sick.
Oh
Um,
my god,
that
what
was
a
like one of the
dream.
coolest. Yeah, it was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had, and I had never actually taught before I said yes to doing that. And then they were like, "Can you build like a 12-hour curriculum and come do this?" And I was like, "Sure." You know? But it was just kind of validating that like I know what I'm talking about. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So,
Teaching helps definitely validate that.
yeah.
And you'd have like, I guess right around then you'd have probably been on Ableton for like 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it was just, I said yes without really thinking about it, and then I had to actually write down the curriculum, like pen and paper, and yeah, it was badass. I wish I had more time to do it still. I still like, I try and listen and give feedback as often as I can when people DM me songs or email me stuff, but I haven't actually done the lessons in a while.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
Yeah,
So, like, do people just send you songs and ask for feedback and stuff like that?
all the time.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
I actually like I try to read most of my like Instagram messages like while I can or when I have the time in between, cuz I don't know. I think it's important to I'm trying to like be the person that I wish I had when I was coming up, and
Oh,
For
like
that's
sure.
awesome.
be more accessible when I do have the energy to pay attention to that, because I think it goes a long way. Even if someone tells you like keep going, like you're on the right track, I think that
Mm-hmm.
that really helps, rather than
Yeah.
just yelling into a void.
Especially if it's coming from Maddy O'Neal, like a certified
Oh.
badass.
Thanks.
hmm
Yeah.
So
Thanks.
do you run your own social media and your own Instagram, or do you have your management team help you out with that?
I do it all.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you put in good work, that's for sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're
Thanks.
very welcome. Very
Yeah, I
strong
mean,
brand.
thanks. I mean, sometimes I will send them like a caption and tell them exactly what to do and have them actually post it, but that's like every once in a while. I just think
hmm
that authenticity goes a long way, and I just don't trust someone to try to be me.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's fair.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have like any advice for somebody that's an independent artist and also running their social media campaign? Like the authenticity part is a common denominator between
Yeah.
all of our guests on SlamCast. But is there any other advice besides that, like being a full time artist and you're touring, so you're super busy?
Yeah.
What helps you keep that schedule for posting and the consistency?
I do have like a content calendar
Oh,
that
okay.
I use just to like keep myself on track, like with announcements, or just like if I have random creative ideas, I drop them in. Not on a specific day, but if I'm, just trying to think about what to post or I haven't posted in a couple days, stuff like that. But one piece of advice is that like we all hate it to a certain extent. We don't want to live on Instagram all day long.
Yeah.
But I think finding a way to interact with it in a way that feels the best to you is really where you should start. Whether
hmm
that's like, doing like a little beat a day video. I mean, that's a lot, but
Hmm.
just trying to connect with people on an authentic level, whether that's putting up little motivational things or showing your everyday life, stuff like that. I think humanizing yourself and finding a way to connect with people in the way that feels the best to you, because it's different for everybody.
hmm
You know,
Yeah.
some people are better at it than others, or editing videos. We have to wear so many hats these days that it's like insane to try to keep up. But I think that even if you are not the best video editor, you can still find ways to like lean into it in your own way.
hmm
For sure.
Yeah.
So when you're on tour and you're going all over the place, what does it look like making music? Are you taking a break from producing and creating, or are you trying to incorporate that also into your crazy schedule?
Um, it is really, really hard to write on the road just because there's only certain pockets of time that you have, and sometimes that's take a nap or get dinner, you have to my main priority lately has been taking care of myself on the road, which feeds into that as well. The more energy that I have, the better that I feel. I have more energy to do stuff like that. So I actually brought my yoga mat on the Daily Bread tour, and I did yoga almost every single day. Um, the music portion is more so like me collecting and starting ideas, kind of like setting myself up for future success when I finally have the time to like dive in. Because the way that I write is, I have to be in one, in a setting for like a couple hours to really dive in and like get into that flow state.
Yeah.
So I've found that when I'm on the road, I'm kind of like collecting sample ideas, or if I hear a song that is inspiring, I'll put those in folders. Um, I'll do some like sample digging on sites, and I'll mess around with sounds and do a little sound design, but I've never actually finished a song start to finish while touring. I will be
Yeah.
Yeah.
completely honest with you.
No, it's okay. That sounds like a lot of work in general. Just even with doing that side of grabbing ideas sounds like it could be work at some points.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I start to feel a little crazy when I'm like the imbalance of like producing and playing live shows is off. So at least if I'm like gathering ideas and setting myself up, it still feels, it's part of the process. So as long as I keep
Yeah.
that going, I still feel like I'm like locked in.
Yeah,
Dope.
that kind of sounds like a fun task or like a fun challenge throughout the day to collect little tidbits of sounds and ideas.
Yeah, like I have in my record box, I have like inspiration songs. So if I like am just out in the world, I hear a song that I'm like, that is sick, and it, sparks something, I'll download it, I'll put it in that folder so I can come back to it later and remember why that made me feel a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Do you collect like ideas for collaborations while you're on the road too, or do those collaboration ideas come from a different source of inspiration?
Yeah, I mean, I have an ongoing list of people I'd like to collaborate with. Um, so if I think of somebody, I'll put it. I'm a big list person. So
Same.
Yeah.
I have millions of lists of people I want to work with, remix, bootleg ideas, just kind of like trying to not forget about those things in the moment. So I'll just keep lists going, and I'll get to it whenever it makes sense.
I noticed the last couple of your albums had like full remix albums of them. Do you reach out to all those artists to do that, or do you just like ask if anyone wants to remix stuff and kind of let them ask you?
I do. I make like a master list of people to reach out to, and I actually reach out to them personally,
That's dope.
um, because I think that the artist to artist connection is much stronger than anything else. Um, and then if they don't respond or whatever, we'll follow up through their business team. But yeah, that's been one of my favorite things to do, is because when I'm writing a full length album, some of those songs I will never actually play live.
True.
It's more of a
Sure.
listening song.
I
It's
I feel you on that, but then you get to express yourself with whatever you were thinking instead of assuming you need to like make a banger for a floor.
right, exactly. And I hate having that in my head. I'm like, while I'm writing, like sometimes you just want to write whatever the fuck you're feeling. But when I get people to remix them, sometimes I'll tell them that, you know, the context is I like to have versions to play live so that they'll,
Ooh.
you know, maybe juice it up a
Sure.
little bit.
Yeah.
So those are really fun because I end up playing a lot of those remixes live, and then catch people off guard because they might be expecting to hear the original or vice versa. So
That's so
that's been a
cool.
fun project. And it, you know, you
Mhm.
are collaborating with those people even though they're just remixing. It's like they're taking your ideas and reinventing it. So it's always
Mhm.
cool to see what people come up with.
Mhm.
Yeah, put their own spin on it.
And
Yeah.
even that kind of collab where it's like you're not just giving them something so blank, but giving them an idea that they can do even more with. You know, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's like the same pieces of the song, but they just do it in their own way. So it's always really, really fun to see what people come up with for those.
Those are awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
So, Maddie,
Yeah.
what does dirty, funky bass but make it pretty mean in the studio? Like when you're sitting down to write music or sound design, what kind of elements are you looking for and how do you create those sounds?
Well, a funny little tidbit is my mastering engineer. He calls like the pretty part of that my little sparkle elements that I use in my songs. I'm a big like texture girl, and I put a lot of little hidden sparkly elements in my songs, like just like, you know, whether it's like an undertone texture or if it's just like these little pops and glitch type of sounds in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
Ear
Um,
candy.
yes, and with, you know, they might not be as noticeable on the first listen, but they're there, and if you took them away, it would make a big difference.
Yeah.
Um, so that's just a funny side note based off of that question. But yeah, I really like when music is heavy and dirty and kind of hits you in the chest.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely gotten a lot heavier over the years, especially in my live sets. But I'm always drawn to those soulful, like hit you in the feel moments. So I think that's like the beautiful, pretty side of that. So finding a way to mesh those together in a more like melodic, beautiful way, but still, you know, slap you in the face. It's
Yeah.
kind of the sweet spot.
I love that.
Yeah.
Definitely ear
Pretty
candy.
bass music
Yeah.
is what we all need. We need more of it. Bass music's too serious all the time sometimes, and so
Right. It can get a little dark, you know, and
yeah,
I like the dark shit, but like I still want to be like having a good time.
yeah.
Yeah. And the melodic elements of like a vocal chop or something soulful like you mentioned, I feel like it keeps the listener more engaged longer because your brain is trying to process so many different things and it's not as
Right.
repetitive.
Yeah, for sure. Then there's a difference between like writing beats and like making songs, and I think I'm good
Yep.
at the way that I attack music is I write songs, you know, like
Yeah.
think about like the A section, B section, like hooks and stuff like that versus just like making a beat. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just the way that I write, you know.
So do most of your songs or most of your projects you start end up as full songs then since you have that mentality from when you start?
They do. And the ones that don't end up having a structure are probably sitting on my computer still somewhere.
Yeah.
Plenty of them.
Mhm.
Yeah, we all have that file.
I have a big folder of it. I'm more of a producer than I am a beat maker, as with how I produce too. So I feel you on that. I make more hip hop and stuff like that, but I
Yeah.
hmm there's two sides to that coin for sure.
Yeah. And I like in my old music project, like years ago, you know, we would have a separate thing. We'd make like a beat tape and then an album. So it was like a way to like mentally separate that. Um, which it would be fun to do again. I actually thought about that a while back. I had a fun name for it, but now I can't remember. But anyway, maybe they'll
It's
see the
written
light of
down
day
in
one
your
of these
notes.
one of these days.
Yeah.
It's there,
Yeah,
or maybe it'll just be played.
yeah.
So you said that your sound has evolved over the last couple of years and it's gotten heavier. What does that look like as like a production standpoint? What kind of things are you doing in Ableton to make that sound heavier, more punchy?
Well, I think the more I dive into sound design, it obviously makes that aspect easier. Um, Because I think in the beginning of my, all the way back to when I first started producing, I was like sampling from vinyl and, figuring out my way around a keyboard still, this
Mhm.
was like 12 years ago. Um, so I think just the more that I've progressed and like sharpened my tools and really figured out how, you know, to navigate the VSTs that I own, it's
Sure.
makes it that much easier, because it doesn't take a full day to make the sound that you want to make anymore.
Yeah.
True that.
So, yeah. And, technology has come a long way too, Serum is definitely one of my go-to plugins.
What do you think about Serum
And
2?
so I haven't fully dove in yet. I was talking to Rhett and Bad Snacks while we were on the road, and I was like, "Today's Serum 2 day. Let's all sit down and nerd out."
Mhm.
And then, shit happened on the road, and we didn't do it.
We
So
I'm just kidding.
that's actually on the top of my list. Now that I'm home and ready to fully dive into the studio, I'm gonna have like a sound design day, work with Serum 2 and get to know that. And have a sample digging day, and then just kind of like wrap my head around like what my intentions are going into writing mode.
Cool. Is that I have so when it comes to like writing, would you rather just have like a day of you sound designing and have like a bunch of really good sounds you could play with and just sitting down and trying to make stuff for the writing process?
So I've done both. When I'm writing like an album, I more so try to be organized in the way that I collect a bunch of sounds first so that I can keep like cohesion across the songs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it helps me to have like folders to draw from.
Mm-hmm.
And I also like it helps me organization wise, but it kind of depends on the mood that I'm in for the day.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going into this writing process with that mentality is like collecting sounds because I want to write an EP for the fall, so I
Oh,
definitely
cool.
want them to have cohesion.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I'm just gonna have a fun day where I have no intention of completing anything, mess around, learn Serum 2, collect a bunch of sounds that inspire me, and then the next day or that night kind of go into it a little further.
Fun.
That's a cool way to make everything more cohesive because you're kind of in the same headspace as you collect it all.
Yep.
So it definitely kind of helps out with the cohesionness of it all.
Yeah, I mean, and there's certain synth tones that you hear, and you're like, this is this person, this is that person, you
Mhm.
know. So I think having that, especially even if it's record by record, I think having similar tones helps, you know, make
Yeah.
that feel like one piece of work.
Do
And
you tweak the sounds at all from one song to the next, or are they like purely just the same
Oh yeah, yeah,
sound?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Even just having like a baseline of like, I'm working with like color bases on this, or
Okay.
having like a general blanket. But yeah, I definitely tweak them because that would be boring if I just use the same synth
Yeah.
or bass tone across a bunch of songs.
like my
Basically, just like one long song.
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
like that new Skrillex album. When you hear that, that was really okay.
No,
Really good.
I'm out of the loop.
I actually haven't listened to that yet.
It's actually really, really good. I loved Sonny Moore since he was in From First to Last, so I've kind of just been a fan of him for his big part of his career. But this was one of those like, I'm glad he's so poppy, like a pop. Like
Uh,
when I say poppy, like very popular since and doing
oh
such
yeah,
weird, crazy shit to people. So I just love that, like people that would just be like trying to go into hear just random stuff, get to hear this crazy listening experience. So it's really
yeah,
good. It's like a 45-minute mix. So the whole thing is like you just listen to it from front to back, and it sounds like you're listening to like a 1 minute, half minute song mix the whole way through.
cool. Okay,
Really, really,
maybe I'll check that out before I get going.
Get some more
That's
it's
inspiration.
that's
definitely inspiring. Virtual Riot helped him produce a bunch of it. So there's a lot of that on there, and there's so many
sweet.
collabs. So the whole thing is very, very dynamic.
Nice.
Mhm.
That's another weird thing that I've noticed is that like when I'm on tour or like in certain modes, I like stop listening to music,
Mm-hmm.
you
Me
Mm.
know?
too. Yeah.
So I'm really excited to listen to music again.
Yeah.
And, like,
I
you know, like, there was a point in time where I would, like, listen to, every Friday, I would listen to the release radar just so I could, like, see, what was out
Mhm.
and kind of get inspired by things, but I definitely fell off of that, and I'm excited to literally just inspire myself again, like, actively.
Mhm. As being a DJ or person as being a DJ and playing music for hours in front of people all the time, sometimes you just like get off stage and stuff, and you're like, I, I'm gonna go listen to a podcast. It's
Yeah,
okay.
or
So
or
Or
nothing.
nothing.
or nothing
Yeah.
exactly.
I'm gonna go
Some
play
trees
Mario
grow.
Kart in the background.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's okay. It's okay. But then also like give yourself the space to enjoy music again too is also something you all need to remember. There's a
Yes.
camera right there. hmm
Yeah, what's one of the misconceptions that people would have about like being a touring artist and a full-time artist, you think?
I think people underestimate how much work it actually takes and time and energy.
hmm
Um, I love it a lot, and I was really grateful that the tours that I've done this year have been support tours for some of my favorite artists and friends of mine.
Mhm.
Because prior to that, I was kind of doing my own headline runs, flying everywhere solo. I didn't have a team with me or anything, so I would show up, set up my merch, sound check, handle all my
Sure.
shit, and I
Yeah.
didn't. I was traveling by myself. There wasn't anyone there to like carry the vibe with me,
Yeah.
which is huge, especially when you're on very little sleep and you need someone to like morale.
Yes.
Um, and so that was a lot. I got really, really burnt out. I think it was 2024. I did like almost 100 shows by myself.
Oh shit.
Um,
Whoa.
well, so I had my tour manager with me for like festivals and the bigger shows, but like my small club dates were completely solo. And I have
Eh,
friends all over the country, so that's good when I actually get there.
Yeah.
yeah.
They bring the vibe up.
Yeah.
But it's exhausting. It's a lot, and
Totally being, especially being like a solo DJ or a producer.
yeah, because travel has gotten more expensive, touring has gotten more expensive. So a lot of people that are until you're at a certain level can't afford to bring a team with you or
hmm
have that extra help. Um, so that it was very refreshing this year to be able to go on tour, become a part of somebody else's ecosystem. That's
hmm
everyone's goal, is to have a team and be in a comfortable place. Like Daily Bread tour was on a bus, and so I got to go to sleep in my little coffin every night. And
Nice. I was at that tour, but you weren't at the Minneapolis stop.
oh yeah,
I
yeah,
love
yeah,
Daily Bread.
yeah. He's the best. Like I've known him for 12 plus years.
Oh damn.
So we're like old school homies. Like when we first started making music. I've known his tour manager just as long, so it felt like I was just like absorbed into their little tour family. And
hmm
people looked
Cute.
out for me, and
Yeah.
we got to get to know each other and share that common experience together, which is really, really fun. um, and I had a conversation with Opio actually on the Of the Trees tour, just talking about like what is it all about if it's not about those moments in between.
Yeah.
Why are we
Mhm.
doing this?
hmm
And having that, getting up and going to get coffee with the homies, and decompressing and inspiring each other, and kind of having those interconnected moments between the grind, I think is really important. And
Yeah.
recognizing that, like, enjoy the ride. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but those are just
No,
those are just
that was
It
awesome.
did and then some.
I,
So thank you.
I and I agree about being alone type of thing on stage. I like I'm a part of a DJ duo because I didn't want to do it myself. Like
yeah.
let's get together, and then when we can get on stage, we can hang out, and So yeah, I feel that it's being a EDM producer or bass music producer can get lonely if you're doing it
Yeah.
all by yourself.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
was
I
scared of
guess
that.
you sit in the studio by yourself a lot, so
Yeah.
Hmm.
when you actually get to show it to people, you want to have like a different experience and have it
Yeah.
be a part of something bigger,
Yeah.
And
and
performing in
that that
front
hap- that
of
happens. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that performing in front of a bunch of people is such a crazy experience that you want to be able to share that with somebody and then talk about it later and like
Yeah,
just yeah,
yeah,
have a fun
and being
experience.
on stage and sharing your music and feeling the effect is also part of that.
Mhm.
That's it's like the biggest high in the world when you finally get to like show somebody the thing that you sat here and made for days by
Mhm.
yourself and actually see it in the world. So that's a cool aspect of touring, number one. But yeah, just kind of like the moments in between and knowing that we're all going through this common, we chose this lifestyle, and you do have to sacrifice a lot to tour, you know relationships with people, missing people's big life moments, and
Mhm.
um, but I think sharing that with other people that have chosen that life is important.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So you're a full-time musician now, I would assume.
Yeah.
When did you have a job before you became, and when did you decide like this is the transitional period that I can continue, like I can use music to be my income? And because some people, it takes so many people so much different time.
Yeah, I mean, I was broke for a very, very long time. um,
Yep.
it's still a struggle. um, but So I was in a duo project for 5 years, from 2010 to 2015.
Hmm.
And then so while I was finishing school, I had a bunch of odd jobs while I was um, learning how to produce and kind of figuring out that that's what I wanted to do. I was a cart girl at a golf course. I was a telemarketer for solar energy.
Oh,
I
I
would,
tried that once.
yeah,
It was terrible.
it's so bad, so bad. I was,
Literally the worst thing I've ever
yeah,
done in my life.
yeah. I mean, I was really good at it because people liked my voice on the
Yeah,
phone.
I see that.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
They're
Like,
like,
I'll buy a solar panel from you right now.
yeah, I was
yes.
like, all
Ma-
you need to do is a free estimate. You don't have to do shit. And they're like, oh, like you sound friendly enough. Uh, yeah, so I left that project. I never got like a real job out of college.
Mhm.
I kind of knew that if this is what I wanted to do, I could not half-ass it, and I had kind of had to go all in. But that being said, it wasn't paying my bills for a very long time, so I would trim weed and
Yeah.
do a million different things to get by.
As,
Luckily,
a-
I had homies that had little businesses or gigs and stuff like that. So I don't remember quite when the transition was, but it kind of it fluctuated.
mhm.
Um, but the last like 3 or 4 years have been like really good for me. Yeah,
Nice.
I could finally feel like I had the momentum, and I could feel the growth happening,
Hmm.
um, in a way that was just like, okay, I'm on the right track, and we're here.
Yeah.
Hmm. We recently saw that you played an all, like not recently, probably it was like half a year ago, but we saw did an all woman or female lineup at Red Rocks with Rez,
Yeah,
and that looked and sounded so cool. I watched some of the set today too. Um,
sick.
like it's crazy going from getting Ableton in college or getting Ableton and then teaching it, and now you're like one of the people that are getting to perform with it at Red
Yeah.
Rocks. How did that all come to be? Is it an idea that you and a bunch of other producers had, and like did you reach out together to do that? It just sounded like
For the
such a
Red
cool
Rock show.
idea. Yeah.
Um, that was Rez. She wanted to do an all-female lineup, and she reached out to me as direct support. I'd actually never met her prior to that, or maybe just like in passing briefly. So that was a huge honor for her to hit me up and want me to share that experience. I mean, it was a very, very powerful night. Um, First of all, it was the first time that's ever happened at Red Rocks, period.
Which is
Um,
crazy, by the way.
yeah,
I was like, how is that the first time?
yeah,
What?
yeah.
But
It
the
was,
scene
it
is so
was,
male dominated,
T-
so like makes
yeah. I mean,
sense.
even,
Like
what was that? What was the second part?
I said it like kind of makes sense because the scene is so
Male
male
dominated.
dominated.
Oh, for sure.
Sorry.
But even outside of the electronic world, it had never happened. So
Oh.
Yeah.
that was pretty. It was pretty wild. Definitely one of the coolest nights of my life. And then I went straight from there to Burning Man and played 4 sets. Like
Oh
slept for like
dang.
4 hours and went straight to Burning Man. I was just like on such a high when I got there. I was just like, oh my god.
I
So
bet.
yeah, that was really badass.
How often do you go to the burn?
Um, I've been twice.
Oh cool.
And I'm planning on going again this year. Um, yeah, my buddy had been talking me into it for 6 or 7 years, and I was like, it'll happen when I'm ready. Um, and yeah, I had such a good time my first year. I just kind of like reached out to a bunch of random camps. Ego Trip, who's based in San Diego, that was like one of my biggest house sets that year. Because I'm doing the Madhouse stuff now as well. So that was kind of like a big jump off point to get like to have validation in the house world.
Oh cool.
People were just
Yeah.
like, "Who is this chick, and where did she
Do,
come from?"
like so when you say into the madhouse, do you produce some house music for a house kind of label now, or what is that?
So I'm actually working on my first house EP.
Cool.
It's
Let's
almost done.
go.
So it's called Madhouse. I don't have like a full on alter ego, but that's
Maddy
kind of the way
House.
that I'm. Yes, yes. So that's kind of the way that I'm trying to separate it. I've done a bunch of like after parties and festival sets under the Madhouse alias, but I haven't yet put out originals yet. So that is in the works. Probably, hopefully, I'll be trickling them out over the summer.
Fun.
But I'm working on that and a bass EP simultaneously. So I'm trying to figure out what the best way to release everything is.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that has been a huge um, push for me to get into the house world, is experiencing Burning Man and being able to go out there and just rip Madhouse sets. Um,
Mhm.
super
Did
super fun.
were you always into house music and then just decided to start making it recently, or did you like recently kind of vibe into it and decide this is pretty fun music to start trying to hang out with?
Well, okay, so I actually have to credit Megan Hamilton a ton for
Hmm.
pushing me to really dive into house. Years and years ago, I was just like a hater because,
Me too.
yeah,
Me too.
I hate to admit it now that I love it so much,
I
but
saw
like,
Megan on Saturday. I feel you.
yeah,
Now I
like
love it.
from like a producer perspective, I was just like, oh, it's like the same loop over and over again. It's so easy, but I didn't know what I was talking about. I will admit
Yeah. We
that.
don't.
I will admit that now. Um, there's so many nuances and so many subgenres, and Megan pushed me to dive deeper into house. Um, this was like pre-pandemic. We were actually toying with an idea of starting a duo project called Housewives together. We were gonna launch it, and then the pandemic happened, and our team
Oh.
was like, "No, this is a terrible time to start a brand." So we kind of pulled the plug on that, unfortunately, because we were really excited about it, and we might do it in the future still.
Life is
But
still young.
yeah, there's plenty of time.
Hmm.
But yeah, she kind of gave me the broad overview and, gave me some labels to check out, some of her favorite stuff, and then once I, like, dove in, I was just like, "Oh my god, I'm such an idiot for hating for
Mhm.
so long."
Yeah.
And then when I fully really started diving into I use Ableton for my main sets, but when I
Mhm.
fully dove into using CDJs and really dialing my DJ skills, house is way easier to mix than bass.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
my music, my catalog at least, which ranges from, there's like 30 BPM jumps. So yeah, I fell in love with it in the way that I could DJ it and find my own little niches within it. And yeah, it's
That's so
fun.
cool. That's so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I hopped off the. I used to be a hater of house too, and then I started going to slam. And
Yeah.
the owner of here is like actually a pretty like in the house and techno scene pretty big. His name's James
Nice.
Patrick,
Okay.
and with going like I going to his sets and like listening to him teach it, I'm like, oh, this is like way different than I thought it was. It's so much like
Yeah.
with all the nuances are so like it's and with bass music you're waiting for a drop. With house music you're just waiting to be hypnotized and like letting yourself fall into the music a little bit differently. It's really interesting.
Yeah, totally. And it's like universal, like
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
my music's a little bit too niche to, go tour in Europe right now. But like, you know, house music is a universal across the world. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah,
that's a
very
really
true.
cool aspect about it, and there's a reason for that.
You talked a little bit about your Ableton set. I want to dive into that a little bit more for your live performance.
Yeah.
You use Ableton, but I've also seen that you have a drum pad. So you do live drumming as well?
Yeah, so I use an MPD 226 and then I actually have an ancient Roland SPDS. It's like probably like 20 years old, I swear to God. I stole it from my brother. I need to upgrade that. But um yeah, so I have two drum pads that are both working as MIDI controllers. So usually when I finish a song, I will export like one or two channels that I want to play live, whether that's percussion or vocal chops or some of my little sparkle elements.
Okay.
Um, so mostly I do percussion stuff with the actual sticks, and then the finger drumming is kind of more like choppy style stuff. But
Sure.
I build a bunch of drum racks in Ableton, and then I can kind of cycle through them throughout sets.
Dope.
Yeah.
Do you
But,
perform using a timeline then? So you have everything set up?
I've done it both ways. I can also launch with my drum pad too, but
Oh,
I've actually experimented with like, launching from locators on
ooh.
the timeline view.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, I can launch with my MPD as well, depending on
As a
which mode that I'm in.
so as a live performer, so do you do a session or arrangement view for your performance?
Yeah, she was just asking the same question. I've done it both ways. Currently, I'm doing the arrangement with launching locators
Okay. Oh
and
yeah.
experimenting with kind of like doing remix style stuff with that because I'm making edits to transfer those to my CDJs as well. Because
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to pop up in any scenario that I can. Um, and it's a lot harder to play my music, my original sets on CDJs, just because I've always done it in Ableton. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of in this zone where I'm creating edits and experimenting a lot in my live set to figure out a better way to translate it so I can do it on either one, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
No, it does.
Or
It
even
makes
having
sense.
like a drum pad on the side of a CDJ,
Yeah, just like pop
so
it
I
into
can
a
just like,
channel.
yeah,
I love that. And I was just wondering because like I've played in both worlds too, and I loved asking about the locators and all that type of stuff. I think it's really cool.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I still play some sets using the session view too, just breaking down my songs and launching them. Um, but I'm in a very experimental zone right now because
Yeah.
I've been
Cool.
toying with the idea of going to CDJs with the drum pads on the side. Um,
Would you still have Ableton then open with like the drum pads?
yeah, Yeah, I would. But
Yeah.
I had a disaster set at Ultra last year with
Oh
Ableton
no.
freezing.
Ah,
Um,
no.
Oh
and
no.
yeah, it was like live streamed to like 3 million people or something.
We're not gonna find the clip of that and play it right here.
No!
I'm
I mean, dude, you can. I'm over it.
What do you do? What do you do in that situation?
Well, luckily I had a backup laptop in
Ooh.
that moment, but
Okay.
I was using a brand new cable. It was a DJ Tech Tools cable because I go direct into the mixer
Mhm.
from Ableton. I used to have an interface, but I don't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that it was my computer was freezing, and so I restarted my computer. Or I restarted Ableton, did it again, and my output, my master output in Ableton was completely frozen, looking like it was sending audio still.
Oh
So at
no.
that point, I was like, "Fuck, okay." So my tour manager ran and got my backup laptop, which I should have had on stage with me. That's the whole point of having a backup laptop, is that it's ready to
Yeah.
go. But my
This sounds
computer
so
was
scary.
my computer was brand new. Um, so I didn't think that I would have any issues, but
Yeah.
yeah, three audio cutouts later, we swapped the cable and realized that it was the cable the whole time and not the computer.
Damn.
When when
Um,
you say the cable, is this like a headphone jack into like
Fuck no, no, it's come on.
I was scared. She's like, I don't use an interface anymore. I'm like, she's just headphone
No,
jacking into a PA.
no.
Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
god.
Sorry.
Is it like a USB-C cable that just replaces
It's
the interface?
yeah, it's USB-C into the USB input on a mixer.
Oh, okay.
Whoa.
Okay,
Okay.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're like, hold on. This is your first problem.
It just sounds like a
Um,
horror story. Well, if you had a USB, would you have just been like, "Hey, I'm just gonna throw it to the USB, go to see DJ, and continue if your laptop crashed"? Would you have did that, or
well,
continue to like twerk on the laptop?
there wasn't CDJs set up
Oh,
because
okay.
I was on the live. I was on the live stage at Ultra.
Okay.
Um,
Whoa. Then that wasn't
yeah,
even an option.
yeah. So it was just a mixer, my laptop, and two drum pads, which I should have had my backup up there. Anyway, full
Learning moments.
circle. That moments like that, and I know Grizz had a similar experience at Bonnaroo like years ago because I asked him at Ursa Major when I played with him. I was like, "What was the moment that you switched from Ableton to CDJs?" And he was like, "Well, I had this moment at Bonnaroo. My laptop overheated and it was like sitting on a bag of ice. Like it's riskier for
Yeah.
sure. And CDJs have become pretty standard. It's easier to change over at festivals when there's no,
Yeah.
built-in time for that. But I do think that what I do and the way that I play my songs is a unique experience.
Hmm.
And
I agree.
I'd like to keep that going. Um,
Yeah.
but I
Yes.
am I am curious, to see if I could merge both worlds or at least be prepared to do a similar thing on CDJs if I needed to.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I do DJ sets with CDJs all the time, but like with my personal setup, playing my tracks in the way that I do is different, you know.
1,000%.
Yeah.
There's different your music is more expressive and doesn't have like it doesn't every song is like 16 bar intro, 16 bar outro at the same BPM. And
Right.
CDJs you can, but it's just a lot of washing. And if you have Ableton, you can use so much more to express between that all.
Right.
So yeah,
Exactly.
so no,
I have my
that
little tips to jump, you know, if I need to jump more than 6 or 7 BPMs and not, you know, have a train wreck.
Just give him one of the
Yeah. Totally.
I'm on the same tip. I rock a tractor with some turntables and Ableton at the same time, and I
Oh,
merge the
cool.
two together because of the
Fuck yeah.
link. Yeah, my buddy plays cello. We're trying to get that on stage with us, and we're learning to scratch together. So it's kind of
Nice.
it's kind of like I'd love like we can see DJ the set because some places just have to and we know how to. But if you want us to do the like stemmed out scratching with all the instruments and stuff, we would really like to do. Then we
Yeah.
have our own rig that's gonna kind of live in there, and I think it's better that they can be two worlds. We can
Yeah.
see DJ if we have to, but we also want to be able to like tell our story the way we want to.
Right, for sure. Yeah, and I used to stem things out like 6 or 7 stems per song. Now I'm kind of exporting the master and then 1 or 2 things on the side so
Yeah.
that, you know, if even if I choose not to do that, it still exists and it's less like organization for my brain.
Yeah.
Keeping track of all those things.
So many things.
Yeah.
And I guess like my buddy plays on CDJs, but he brings a whole live rig of noises with him too, and he just
Oh,
like
sick.
has. Yeah, his name's Chuck Love. If you've ever heard of him, out of
Yeah.
Minneapolis. Yeah,
Yeah, I
Chuck.
have
He does house music off of CDJs, but then he'll have like a Helicon plugged in where he plays trumpet and bongos and all this shit, and he just
sick.
bounces out versions of his, like you're saying, his tracks that he knows are going to be CDJable, so that way when he throws them in, he has like the room for his trumpet and stuff.
Yep, that's
Mm-hmm.
badass. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it takes a little more effort, but I'm glad that people are still doing that and taking the extra steps because I think it does make you stand out
Yeah.
and gives
Yes.
you a lot more freedom when you're like a live instrumentalist or just want to interact with your tracks more than playing a master or,
Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
drop to drop style DJing.
Mm-hmm. And there's room for that genre or people that want to do it
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
I want to switch gears a little bit. We have maybe like 10 more minutes before we
Okay.
have to head out, but I wanted to talk about your brand because the Maddy O'Neal brand is so recognizable and distinguished. It fits your music to a T, I think.
Oh,
And
thank
yeah.
you. That's a huge compliment.
Are you part of the design behind that, or do you have somebody that helps you? Do you kind of guide them in a certain direction?
It has taken me years to dial. Um, I finally found a graphic designer literally just by searching Instagram that I absolutely love and that really I felt resonated with my music really well. There's actually that's his poster on the wall over there.
I know, I
Oh,
saw
cool.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah, that's the Mind Over Matter one. He's probably, yeah.
All right, there too.
Studio tour.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, it took me a really long time to find like a graphic designer that I really resonated with that I thought fit. You know, when you saw it, my music
Yeah.
Mhm.
did this. I don't know what
They
the word for it is.
Oh,
I feel it.
synchronicity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, they feel so well together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and someone that was easy to work with and reliable and down for, you know, just whatever I threw his way.
Yeah.
Do
So I definitely guide all of my branding aesthetic
Cool.
within my team. It helps having one central person and one graphic designer just to have that
Mhm.
overall cohesion.
Yeah.
I recently just redid my logo with this chick Hallie out of Miami because I just thought that my old logo was too basic when I saw it on like a flyer. Because there's like the symbol with the text, and when it was just the text without the symbol, it just looked too basic.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to redo my logo branding recently, which I'm super stoked on. And yeah, I mean, I think that it's going to constantly evolve over time. with different eras that I'm in personally.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a freeing thing too, is like you, even if you start out with a logo, that doesn't have, it's not forever. You know, you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
It's
reinvent
just a
yourself
starting
over
point.
and over again. And I think
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
people should remember that too, because it is like, it's a big thing to put your branding in a visual format. Um, but yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
animate all of my artwork and then I use it for my live shows.
Oh,
So that kind of
You do
crosses
that?
you
over as
animate
well.
it?
I don't personally. I have an animator.
Cool.
Oh,
Oh, okay. I was like,
you guys are
whoa.
frozen.
Whoa. She's taking the Mr. Bill
She's doing
class.
a lot over there.
No, 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 no. She's doing a lot. I wish I had time for that. I feel like I would be good at it, but just it's just so much.
I was gonna say like you would be good at it because people that do music, I think music and video work live together in the same world so much that they would connect. Because I just became a videographer, the last like editor in the last like 3 years from
Oh,
producer.
nice.
I still produce, but and yeah, they
Cool.
live in the same world so well that like yeah, your brain will just go like, how do I do this? This I make a beat like this. I can yeah. So you got it. One day.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet you the softwares are very similar too, just for your brain.
Art in time.
Yes.
Is it the same
Yes.
guy who does the graphic design that does the videography and like the animations for your live sets too?
No. So what I do is I ask my graphic designer for layered files of everything that he does so that I have
Oh, okay.
the pieces. And then I've actually worked with a bunch of different people. Originally, I worked with this company called Melt Creative out of Chicago that did my original show visuals. I've had KLab animate some stuff for me. I've
Oh,
had
cool.
Defunk animate some stuff for me.
Cool.
Sweet.
And some other people along the way. But yeah, I mean, I think having the pieces of the layered artwork is kind of like the baseline of doing that. There's
Mm-hmm.
definitely people that I love working with, like Caleb and Defunk are incredible animators.
Dope.
But yeah, just kind of like streamlining that process of trying to carry your branding over from the music into the still images into the show. Finding a way to streamline that has been huge for me because then I don't have to think about it later. I'm just like, let's animate all of this artwork, add it to the
Yeah.
folder, and let's go. You know?
That's awesome.
So then
Yeah.
do you put it into an Ableton set for your live performance?
I'm actually working on that as well. Is going, you know, if I'm going to do my own headline tour this fall, which I'm working on right now, I've been having VJs or having people, you know, like there was a person on Daily Bread Tour, LSZ, and Of the Trees that were nice enough to run my show as well. They're
Ooh.
Cool.
VJs. Um, but it would be nice to be able to do that myself and attach the visuals to the songs,
Yeah.
build out
Mm-hmm.
my own show file. So that's also on my list of things to do.
Cool.
It is doable, especially
It
with
is.
the Ableton stuff.
Yeah, I've been talking to Actualize is another person that has run a lot of my shows and showed me some visual stuff. Him
Mm-hmm.
and I actually worked really closely on the Red Rock show for Rez and made some, you know, remix visuals.
Visuals.
Like I have the Black Eyed Peas song and the Paper Plane song. So we went to the YouTube videos and we picked little moments and I was like, can you
Oh,
animate
nice.
this or can you do this to this little section and line it up? So it's really fun to do that and pre-plan it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, moments for visuals, stuff like that.
Cool. I
Yeah.
feel like we're getting such an inside scoop on the next era of Maddy O'Neal's.
Yeah.
Scoops.
I got a long list. That's for sure.
Well, we love a good list here at
Yeah.
SlamCast.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's the only way we get this thing put together, to be honest.
Yeah, right.
Well, as we wrap up this episode and try to land this plane of an episode, do you have any advice that you'd want to share for our community here at Slam? There's a lot of independent artists and people just getting their feet into the production world. Could you share any tips or tricks that would have helped you at the beginning stages of your career?
I would say diving into your community and like reaching out to people and not being afraid to take a chance is huge. Um, people are more receptive than you think. Even just like reaching, people that I've reached out to collaborate with online that I thought might not even respond to me,
Mm-hmm.
go for it.
Mhm.
And don't get discouraged. You're gonna, like we talked about with the branding stuff, you're gonna reinvent yourself over and over again, and you're gonna keep learning, and you're always gonna be getting better. So don't be afraid to like put stuff out. That's like a snapshot of where you were at in time, and it doesn't mean that people are gonna judge you for that forever. I think one of the coolest parts about my fan base and the community is that they've seen me grow over the years, and they can physically or see that progress in my production. And I think that's a really cool thing for people to be able to see. I think a lot of times people get intimidated about putting stuff out in their early years, and I would say just do it, and it feels good to release that. You can like move on.
Yes.
Start the next thing.
100%.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that was huge for me, is just recognizing that it's constant evolution. Put it out there, get feedback, connect with people, and enjoy the journey of it, rather than setting a bar so high that you're intimidated to release your art.
Beautiful.
Beautiful advice. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. It was super. It was fantastic to talk to you. I've been a fan. I saw you at Sonic Bloom in like 2017 or something.
Oh
so
shit! Nice.
I've definitely love your music. It's been great. It's been awesome. And I was looking forward to talking to you for so long too. So.
Oh fuck yeah! Thanks, man. I'm glad that we made this happen. Also,
Yeah, us too.
R.I.P. Sonic Bloom. That's so sad.
I know.
Loved that festival.
Me too. Is one of my favorites. So yeah, same thing. But
yeah, it was wonderful chatting with both of you guys, and hopefully I'll be back in Minneapolis soon and be in touch.
Yeah, we'd love.
Sure.
Yeah, we'd love to keep in touch next time you're in Minneapolis. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a good rest of your week, and
thanks.
Good luck on everything. We'll be watching for the next era of Maddy O'Neal.
Yay! Maddy 4.0 or whatever it is at this point.
Season 5. I'm just kidding.
Season 5.
Season 5.
Hell yeah!
All right, later, amiga. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, guys.
Bye.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching SlamCast. Wasn't that a fun episode?
Want to become a member at Slam Academy? Go to slamacademy.com for more information.
Thanks for watching. Bye.